Evolution is as much a part of the Pokémon franchise as catching Pokémon, trainer battles, and slight disappointment. It is one of its biggest selling points, as helping our Pokémon grow into their more powerful forms gives it all a sense of progression that wouldn't otherwise exist if everyone was only allowed to remain in their original form. Through the years, we've seen many approaches to this, but we have also been lied to. Yes, we've been lied to for over 25 years. Now, hey, I'm Not So Ace Trainer, welcome back to the channel, and that lie might be the future of Pokémon Evolution. Let's get into it. As recently as in Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet, we have seen constant introductions to the long list of evolution methods present in Pokémon games. These are usually either an extension or, well, an evolution of previous methods, or simply a way to make sure that we interact with new mechanics available in the games. For example, held items were introduced in Gen 2 and we had trade evolution with held items like Cider to Scissor needing the metal coat. In Gen 3 we had the beauty condition, and even though it has been retconned since, Phoebus used to evolve into Milotic by being beautiful. We also had the case of Nincada evolving to Ninjask and thus leaving behind Shedinja. Keep this one in your mind as we will eventually come back to it in this video. Gen 4 didn't have any new evolutions that were tied to new mechanics, but they did have evolving with a certain Pokemon in your party, such as Mantike needing Remoraid to evolve to Mantine. We will also come back to this one soon, so don't forget it, Nincada and Mantike, take notes. In X and Y, with the 3DS having a gyroscope in it, we saw the weird evolution method of turning our console upside down when Inkay got to level 30 to get our friend Malamar. By the way, is it me or did that thing really did not stick? No pun intended. But anyway, in Gen 8 you could spin, and so they had a spinning evolution method for Milcery into Alchemy, which could even have different flavors. And in Gen 9 we had the Let's Go mechanic, and thus a Let's Go Tide evolution method, where we walked around with a Pokemon like Rellor rolling the dung until it got to Raska, and we also had the Union Circle, so we had to battle while with others in the Union Circle to get our Palafin. These are just a few that were tied to new mechanics, but there are many that were introduced through the years that were tied to nothing, and I kinda have to ask what in Arceus' name was Gamefreak thinking with Galarian Yamask. That thing was crazy. But the point is, Gen 10 will also introduce new evolution methods and develop old ones into some new thing, even if there's like no new mechanics attached, and so will every game after that. But it was not in a game that we were lied to, it was in the anime. One of the most iconic scenes of the early days of the Pokemon anime was when, during the episode dubbed in the US as Evolution Solution, we saw the Shellder finally biting Slowpoke's tail and it evolving into Slowbro. An awesome thing that surely was replicated in the games, right? Right? Wrong. Slowpoke evolves to Slowbro when it reaches level 37. Not just that, there isn't a single mention of this interaction in Slowpoke's or Shellder's Pokédex entries, but Slowbros are filled with references to Shellder, even though there is absolutely no interaction between these two Pokemon at all in the games. You don't even have to look a Shellder's way in order to get a Slowbro. To me, this is not right. It doesn't make sense to me that what is essentially a fusion evolution where two species become one after interacting with each other is passed off as just a regular run-of-the-mill boring level up evolution. It could have been retconned to something like, and let us go back to our notes from earlier, something like Mantike's evolution. If we have Shellder in our party as well as Slowpoke, then Slowpoke can evolve into Slowbro, but no, they kept it boring. My suggestion on how to fix this also comes from a suggestion by Odd Cypher, high member of the community, and that is actual fusion evolution. Join my Discord if you want to check out his full details, cause I'm here more about the idea, but it goes into a lot more depth on how we would do it right there in my Poke Theories channel. There is no denying that fusion evolution is something that people want. Fan games like Infinite Fusion are insanely popular, and when a while ago I discussed potential new gimmicks Some people wanted a gimmick based around fusing Pokemon together, even fusing people with Pokemon, kinda like Ash Greninja, but actually more like the Pokemon Rebirth manga, was a very liked idea. And this whole thing was also present in the manga with Pfizer, the fusion of Zapdos, Moltres and Articuno, as well as hinted at with the Paradox Beasts and the Paradox Swords in the Scarlet and Violet books, even if they turned out to be individual Pokemon. But the best part of this whole idea is that it is very much possible, as something similar has happened in the games already. We have seen Pokemon fusion before in Gen 5 and Gen 8. Kyurem, the Gen 5 third legendary, can fuse with Reshiram, becoming White Kyurem, and Zekrom, becoming Black Kyurem, and even possibly fuse with both lore-wise at least. And it can be done through the use of the DNA splicers. In Gen 8, Calyrex, the new legendary Pokemon introduced in the Crown Tundra, essentially fuses with its steeds as long as you have the Reins of Unity. With Glastrier, it becomes Ice Rider Calyrex, and with Spectrier, it becomes Shadow Rider Calyrex. But Fusion Evolution wouldn't be quite this. After all, you can unfuse the Kyurem and you can dismount the Calyrex. Fusion Evolution would be something permanent. By having two Pokemon of different species fused together, you would have a new one forever. The previous two would stop existing and the new one would be the only one remaining. And the final Pokemon would have the highest level of the two that we used for the fusion. The best example really is the one we already had from the anime. You take a Shelder, you take a Slowpoke, you fuse the two together, you get a Slowbro, and it becomes the highest level, either the Shelder's level or the Slowpoke's level, depending on the highest. That's the reason why I wanted you to have Shedinja in your notes as well, because it's kind of the same thing but the opposite way. Instead of getting one permanent Pokemon, there you get two permanent Pokemon after the evolution. In my opinion, this could be used not only to retcon Slowpoke's evolution, but also Mantike into Mantine, as come on, there is a Remoraid right there. Mantike plus Remoraid equals Mantine through Fusion Evolution. And I know it might sound tempting to use this with other Pokemon like fusing Beldum in order to get a Metang or Magnemite to get a Magneton, but I really feel like having this method being used only for Pokemon from different species really is the best approach, as even in World, it makes more sense for Pokemon of the same species to evolve into something similar to what they were, even if it looks like more versions of them, than for different species to appear on other Pokemon without any real interaction with them. It could also be used to give other older Pokemon that are already somewhat connected a new life by having them fuse. For example, it would be cool to have a fusion of Lunatone and Solrock, or Volbeat and Illumise, for example. Even Plusle and Minun would be pretty awesome. I mean, those are all from Gen 3 now that I think about it, but imagine something with Pokemon that just hate each other. Pokemon interact but in a different way. Instead of being friends, they just don't like each other. Imagine a fusion of Hitmore and Durant, or for example Survivor and Zangoose. I think that would be pretty cool, and you could explain it in World because of their interactions. They have more affinity towards each other, or their life energy, or something like that. I don't think this will happen in Pokémon Winds and Pokémon Waves, as I don't think the game will have anything to do with fusions. Honestly, unless they create some really new cool mechanic that I'm not imagining, I think we might just see a simple expansion on weather-based evolutions. But I think that in the future, this will be a part of a Pokemon game. Fusions are just loved like that, and I don't think Gamefreak will waste this opportunity to one day just start making fusion evolutions or capitalize on that love. I'm telling you, this is the future of Pokemon evolution, and retconning Slowbro's evolution would also make sure that they are not liars anymore. But what about you? Would you like fusion evolutions? Do you think they'll ever do fusion evolutions? Let me know down below. And now, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. But before I go, I want to thank my YouTube members Good Old Dale, Dash Plays, The Gavanator, and Attila Santo, and my Twitch subscribers and newbies here, the Dr. Joe, Teixeira23, Lazarix, and Odd Cypher for going the extra mile. Thank you so much for all of your support.